All right, hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Waiting for all the peoples to get in here. Let's see. All right, we got it's hard to tell how many people we have because we do have everybody plus everybody's note takers. So welcome people and non-people to today's call. Um, I'll go ahead and just get started. If you are new to the call, I am David Zajcik. I'm the commissioner of the NCL. And also with me today, we have Emily and Ashley, both from Cyber Skyline. Plus, we actually have several other Cyber Skyline guests that will be joining as well to talk a little bit about AI with us. So we have several of the game creators with us. So this should be a good time. Welcome, everybody. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Our agenda is we're going to talk about competition dates once again for the upcoming fall season. And then we have some questions for you. And we're going to go in and ask a bunch of questions about CTFd just to see if you use it, what you know about it, and I'm going to actually have you answer some quick questions about CTFd. And then, as I mentioned, our discussion topic for the day, so about halfway through the call, we're going to open up breakout rooms, and we're going to have a few small groups in those breakout rooms. And in those breakout rooms, we're also going to scatter our Cyber Skyline engineers, such as Kiwi and Jen, and I know we have a couple other engineers as well. So they will all be joining us in our small discussions. And that is just a continuation of our AI conversation that we had a few months ago. One reason why we're doing this again is because these questions came up again at the last coach's call. So it's definitely a topic that we want to address and talk to all of you about. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in and talk about fall competition dates. Emily.
Thanks, David. All right, so for the fall, we have registration opening up on August 18th. Late registration is going to go from October 11th through the 14th, keeping in mind that we do have a price increase beginning in the fall. Regular registration will be $45 and late registration will be $55. The practice game is going to begin on October 13th. It's going to go all the way through the week until October 19th. The individual game will take place October 24th through the 26th. The team game will go through November 7th through the 9th, and then the gym is going to be available until December 12th. And now I'm going to move into a little bit of information about CTFd. So the Cyber Skyline team is trying to get a little bit of feedback and information about if you are using CTFd. And this is going to allow us to think of ways that we could possibly do a plugin and ways to also enhance your experience with CTFd. That's kind of down the line, but we thought we would ask the coaches if you happen to have any information pertaining to these questions. So a couple of things to keep in mind on this page. There's the QR code, which will take you directly to this brief survey, as well as the link that is going to be posted in the chat. We will also be putting this in the summary email for the coaches call. If you can go ahead, if you happen to be connected to CTFd, if that's something that you use, or it's something that you wish you could use, but you don't have certain functionality, this is a great way for you to express kind of your needs and your wishes and your experience with CTFd. If you can go ahead and fill out that form, that would be wonderful. So the questions we're looking for here are, have you deployed a CTFd server to run cyber exercises with your students? Another question is, did you manage the server yourself or did you pay for the hosted solution? What did you like about the CTFd platform? What changes would you make to the CTFd platform? And how difficult was it to create the challenges? And how difficult was it to run an exercise using CTFd? Also in the survey, there's a portion where you can just put any extra information. So that's just an open dialogue. So if you have anything else you'd like us to know about, that would be wonderful. We will more than likely touch upon this again in August when we return for the next coaches call, but this will help give us some food for thought. And it's a great way, once again, for our team to kind of see where you all are at and different ways that we can support you all, specifically with some possible CTFd components. So that is all I had. If anyone has any questions, of course, you can put them in the chat. And also, you can always reach out to our team, support at cyberskyline.com, or we'll just connect with you back in the next coaches call. That's going to be in August. So that's it for me, David.
All right, thanks. And I was curious just to kind of do a quick poll if anyone wants to do a thumbs up or a green check yes. Is anyone out there using or has used CTFD?
Hi, David. I have. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, gotcha. I can hear
I
you.
used it for when we would have high schools come to our campus to learn more about our program, and so I would post like some trivia questions, like 10 trivia questions, for example, on computer history, whatever. And it was fun, short, 20-minute exercise. I break them out in groups. So it was fun. It was hosted. We got a in our region, we had a grant, and in that grant, they purchased a subscription, and they allowed all the community colleges within that region to utilize the CTFD, and that so I decided to leverage it that way. But I also know that the other colleges used it for more larger competitions. So they use it some of the colleges were university. I was at a community college. So I know that they use it to host a university competitions over the weekend. I think it was Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, is where they had these organized CTFD competitions. I will share that I did try doing my own CTFD using not a virtual machine, but a that other option. Can't remember,
The doctor can.
a Docker component, yes. And it was kind of complicated. It was there were too many broken pieces, kind of very not very stable. So I gave up on it. And then when we had the secondary option where it was hosted by a third party, that was a lot easier for me. I was able to go in, log in, create my own questions based on the audience, the level, intro, high school. And it was fun. And I used it like 3 times, for example, and I no longer have access to it anymore.
Mhm.
But we had like a 3-year run using it. Thank you, David.
Yeah, sure. And if you could please, if open up that survey and kind of put some of that feedback in there, that'd be very helpful. So thanks a lot, Edmund. Appreciate
Sure.
that. And I do see that yes, Cyber Sentinel competition is using CTFD this Saturday. So okay, good. So some good feedback there. And again, if you could just take a few moments, it's not a very long survey. I think less than 10 questions. So please go ahead and answer that right now. All right, next, we quickly came up to the coaches committee discussion time, which means we have plenty of time to talk, which is great. Well, it sounds like we had some good conversations there. I want to, start out by thanking our Cyber Skyline engineers for joining us. We really appreciate your time and coming out and talking to us, to the coaches. And hopefully we can do this again. June tends to be kind of we have fewer participants, so maybe you'll be able to come back again when we have a bigger crew. But again, thank you all for joining. And let's go ahead and jump in with what we only had 2 rooms. So why don't we start with room number 1 and talk about some things that you guys talked about in room 1.
All right. Despite Terry's antagonism, we had a very robust conversation. So let's see. So we talked about, just generally using the NCL guidance that's already out there for the use of competition, but also wanting to find out what are other people doing out there. Um, uh, and I'm forgetting names, but it was Edmund had a good description of a course that he's using to like both use ChatGPT and then provide a human analysis of what ChatGPT gave you, right? Because that's, I think, what we're all coming down to. How do we avoid all the lawyers who are getting in trouble for you know, citing things that don't exist? Um, but a good example was in the challenges using AI to break down Python coding, right? If you're learning Python, what does this segment do, and help you understand. A lot of references to use it as a learning tool, not a crutch, right? Because if you just throw it in there, get an answer, and you don't have the context of what that answer meant, what are you really achieving? Um, and I'm going to be using the lab kit over the summer for a middle school online competition, and I just realized I'm going to put into my frequently asked questions. Yes, use of AI authorized, but you know, as a learning tool, not as, just dump in an answer. Um, the so keeping, telling students, don't just automatically go to ChatGPT, right? Try to actually try to think, and keep in mind that it might be giving you a wrong answer. I'll just skip ahead to something that Kiwi had said, like when we were talking about using AI or having AI challenges, what happens if ChatGPT has a hallucination, creates a flag, right? That's an interesting concept. Um, Angela, also known as American Cheese, that was her screen name. Um, Talked about how they learned a new task using ChatGPT to go and analyze infrared logs, right? So have no idea how to do it. Okay, go have ChatGPT explain it to you. So that again, using it as a learning tool. Um, Another interesting thing from Angela, she's experiencing with students, and we know this. Like, if a student's done NCL over a couple of years, they're keeping notes, they're copying and pasting in the answer, and just moving on without like, okay, let me, you know, it's like if I was practicing my saxophone and I recorded myself, and the next day, okay, well, I'll just play the recording, and then that counts as practice, right? How are you going to get that muscle memory, that brain memory? But then she experienced recently with a group of adult learners, they wanted to learn how to do it. They wanted the context of what these answers mean. So the difference we see between the youngins and adults. Then we got to our engineers. Davina's trying to find out where the coffee is because she just started working there. Um, the but and she understands the educators' concerns. I didn't write it down here, but she brought up an interesting point about the environmental impact of the use of AI, the electrical use to water use, and I don't know that how much we're going to be able to motivate the students, but I think it's a worthwhile thing to get out there. I'll try to see how I can at least present that information to the students. Kiwi had a lot of great information. Hopefully, he and I will at least fist bump at DEF CON because I will be there. Uh, so he explained why there's no plans for prompt engineering challenge in the near future because you can't get the same, you can't guarantee you could get the same answer. And we, in fact, Long Beach City College hosted Seed AI, and I recommended that, that might be someone you want to connect with, seedai.org. We hosted Hack the Future Long Beach, and we saw that, or I saw that, where this group entered this prompt and got the answer, and the next table, this group was putting in the same prompt and not getting it. So how do you grade that? How do you have consistency with your students? And again, what happens if AI hallucinates the flag? Which I just love that thought. He explained how the tooling and infrastructure of AI are a bigger cybersecurity concern than just that prompt engineering, because the assumption is the AI is evil and is going to try to do something, treat it as an insider threat, as opposed to, can it automate? Can it send an email to someone without any human interaction? Can it launch the missiles without someone pressing the button? I did recently show my students war games, so now I've got that on my brain. If you haven't watched war games recently, oh my God, watch it. Whopper was AI. We just didn't know it back then. And yeah, so you could see some of the other notes. Lots of good points as to why we won't see AI there in the near future. So thanks for all those inputs, Kiwi and Davina. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Great, thank you. And number two, did we have any notes in there, Mike? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
great. Go ahead.
let's see. Okay. Um, most of it was very similar to what they were talking about. We switched directions a little bit there towards the end about other things we could do with AI and how to benefit or help the next generation. They talked about, I thought one thing that would be different that wasn't brought up yet was a video or resources to help train the next generation. It's not like AI is going to go away. So how are we going to benefit from it? How are we going to move the next generation of workforce forward and how to use it? They talked about a video training, how to use as well. There was quite a bit of discussion about skill building and not skill replacement or the idea of a crutch. And so that seems to always come back, same thing. And there was a good example of consequences of using AI and not fact checking where lawyers face ethics violations. I thought that was very interesting. I think that what I take from it is I come back from a networking background, and to have all the coders in the room and speaking, that was kind of a nice different viewpoint. And so most everything that they covered earlier, we very similar.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think it was very similar conversations, and we had some, it sounds like some of the same examples come up too, plus terminology. Um, and I think a couple takeaways, at least for me, is how can we have students properly use AI, right? Specifically LLMs, and maybe we can demonstrate that. So, like Mike was saying, we talked about maybe doing a little video tutorial of this is how you use an LLM to solve a challenge, right? The best way to learn about the challenge is to interact with the LLM, ask it, why am I doing this? How is this relevant to cybersecurity? Um, if I'm good at this, what type of job can I get? Those are maybe interesting questions that students might actually find interesting rather than just copying the question and copying the question, pasting it in, getting the answer. Obviously, they're not learning anything and they're not really having a good experience. So those were some of the takeaways as well that I got out of this. And I know one reason we had this from last month is one question that kept coming up was, well, are we going to have any AI challenges? And I think one takeaway, at least for me, is what we need to realize is that if we are using an LLM, it can hallucinate. And like John was saying, two people might put in the exact same prompt and get different answers. So not the best type of game setup and game experience. Um, so yeah, those were my takeaways. So again, thank you everybody for attending and joining. And again, thank you. And it was also good meeting all of our new Cyber Skyline engineers. So that was great. And let's see, we do have our next, like I had mentioned at the beginning of the call, we do not have a coach's call next month, but we do have one coming up in August. Ashley, Emily, did we have that date yet for August? Or, oh, wait, are we going to send out a when is good?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, we're going to send out a survey to all of the coaches towards the end of July to see what everybody's availability is for fall. And then we'll let you know when the August coaches call is based on the availability.
Okay, so look for that. You want to join us for the upcoming fall coaches call season? Please answer that survey. Mark a time that is good for you to attend one of these meetings, and then we know at least you can join us for fall. And so, yeah, so I guess that is, we don't know when August meeting is yet until we have you answer that poll, and then we will give you the results and schedule our August meeting. Usually they're mid to late August, so be looking for that. And again, we'll have a recording of this meeting, and we'll also provide all of the great conversations that we had in the breakout room about AI. And so you can review that and maybe send it off to colleagues if they have questions as well. And with that, we will stick around if there's any other questions for you, for the engineers. we have a few minutes. So either we'll see you in August or feel free to hang out for a few minutes and ask a few more questions if you had any.